Hey, welcome back. This is, let me guess, week 3 or week 4? Week 4. Wow. Week 4 of the engineering management course. And last time, just to refresh your memory, I was talking about Porter's competitive forces. I know I stopped later. Did not stop on 21. I stopped on slide 33. I'm going to get there, but before I do that, I thought maybe I'd refresh your memories because it has been a week. It's kind of weird to start in the middle of a lecture. So I thought I'd just recap a little bit. This is MIT, or Management of Information Technology, Lecture 2. And so last time we went over Porter's competitive forces model, and I showed you this interesting looking, well, it's probably further up here, this interesting looking diagram, here it is, that looked at the driving forces and how they work against each other for the most part, with competitive forces and then competitive strategies to combat the forces. The forces are keeping you from not being able to succeed. These strategies are making it more likely for you to succeed, given all of the forces that are against you. And so if we look at them in terms of the forces, it's usually related to competition. So we have competitors, threats of new entries, bargaining power customers, suppliers, stuff like that. And then the strategies are basically becoming a leader, from cost leadership point of view, or differentiation leader, or innovation leader, growth strategies, alliance strategies. Went through a bunch of all that stuff last time. Talked about each one of them, and then we kind of got to the point where we started looking at, coming up here, lock-in strategies. We started looking more along here, around in the information systems and the customer-focused business. So I will tell you that today's economy and today's businesses are all customer-focused, which is kind of funny because wouldn't you think it would be like that from the beginning? We'd start out having customer focus and the customer is our focus. But it's weird. Actually, customer service isn't as good as it used to be, but customer focus for other types of businesses has really improved over the years. When you're thinking about it, though, it shouldn't have been there from the beginning. But now with a lot of the competition among others who are becoming more customer-focused, we're looking at things. And then I think I probably started talking about CRM towards the end of last lecture as well. CRM. So I'm going to give you a bunch of acronyms today. C as in cat, R as in Robert, M as in Mary, stands for Customer Relationship Management. And then there's companies that put out these big CRM systems. They're all over the place. And CRM is probably, well, that and supply chain management and ERP. So CRM is for customers. SCM, S is in Sam, C is in cat, M is in Mary, stands for supply chain management. I'm going to talk about the chain and the concept of the chain today. But we have the supply chains where we're getting our parts and pieces for manufacturing, where we're getting our product, our raw goods or services from. It could be a service. It could be somebody who's manufacturing something for us. But that's our supply chain management. And then we have ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. For those people who are in the SAP program, you know about ERP because ERP and SAP kind of work together for the most part in some of the packages. But ERP is probably, of the three, the most misunderstood. Customer Relationship Management is probably the second, and then Supply Chain Management is probably the easier one to figure out. So what are we doing? We're taking and we're creating, all these things have a lot in common. They're taking and creating automation for traditional work product. All this stuff existed in the Stone Age. All this stuff existed from the beginning of the first person who sold something to someone in the world. They had all three of them. Nothing new, not a new way of doing business. However, now we have IT, IS, and innovative support that has kind of made people think it's a new way of doing business. It's really the old way of doing business. If we talk about customer relationship management, just saying, hello, thank you, here's your receipt. All that stuff is customer relationship management. It's maintaining the relationship. If you take and talk about the modern day, in modern times, past the Stone Age, you get into today's economy, It's not calling them up while they're having dinner and trying to sell them a product or making them fill out 5 surveys, or better yet, having them wait on hold and listen to a bunch of marketing stuff before they talk to a real person, or better yet, not even allowing them to talk to a real person, or feeding them a website, or feeding them or pushing them or pulling them into a website. It's none of that stuff. Those are things that irritate customers. And so this is probably one of the most misunderstood things. So a lot of people install, and I say a lot of people, a lot of companies, but they get these consultants come out, sell them this CRM system. They install the system. It ends up ruining their business than anything else, because customers don't want all of this stuff that the system is doing. They want to be maintained and they want to be housed. So CRM is not bad when it's done correctly. Car dealerships have a really good way of doing it, actually. And I'll give you an example of one that was, started about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, actually. And it was actually BMW that was probably one of the first people that discovered this concept. Keep your customers happy. Give your customer a high-value product, and then make them happy. So they gave 2 free years of service. Now most of your car companies are doing the same thing. 5 years of service. They started out originally with 2 years of free scheduled maintenance, and then they raised the price of the car a little bit to cover that. Actually a lot, but long story short, you're paying a lot for the car anyway. So what's another $10,000 more dollars, right? But long story short, they got you in, and then they did their customer relationship management. So you come in, they give you donuts, so they give you a courtesy shuttle ride, or they take care of you. They provide you with Wi-Fi service in their little lounge area. I've never owned a BMW, by the way, and I'm not promoting them. They managed you, and then when you came through, you walked through the showroom, you saw all the new models, and then actually Mercedes does the same kind of thing. And then the Mercedes, they actually send people out to take a look at your car. They go, oh, look, you have a ding on the door. Oh, look, your windshield's cracked, or, yada, yada. And then they try to sell you products and services and things to fix the problems that may have gone wrong that weren't part of the regular service, yada, yada. Accessories, XM radio, all the little products and services. That's actually better CRM than calling you while you're eating dinner at night and trying to sell you something you're really not interested in. So it's called upselling, side selling. They can cross-sell you on different products, services. That's really the goal of CRM, and that's the low-tech way of doing it. So other companies looked at this model that was started coming out. This is about 15 years ago or so, 15, 20 years ago, when people started realizing that, the customer, if you make the customer happy, they'll buy more products from you. Duh, loyalty programs. So then other companies with other products started to do similar things, but they can't afford to buy donuts or to give free shuttle rides, or they don't have, this thing built into their product line. So instead what they started to do is use automation. And the automation kept track of a customer and sent follow-up emails and follow-up this and follow-up that and tried to give you coupons and stuff like that. Long story short, it didn't work the same. So because we're talking about technology and innovation in this lecture series here, it's interesting how some things can really be successful and some things can really be a failure in terms of customer relationship management. It's like black and white. There's more success in supply chain management and, I was going to say more success in ERP when done correctly. ERP's got a problem, but I'll talk about that later. But long story short, looking at customer relationship management, and what you're looking at or been staring at is this customer database and then this transaction database, which is actually kind of interesting because just because you're a customer doesn't necessarily mean you're buying something or having some sort of a transaction. And then looking at the sources, looking at the internet, the intranet, the extranets, all of the different connections, and then the concepts of making somebody loyal or building a web community or giving all employees a complete view of each one of the customers and what they're about. There's different strategies using technology to build better relationships with customers. Only problem is no one's really figured out how to do it. So we got this word chain. all breaks down the concept of a value chain. So this is another more management 101 for information systems, information technology, and engineering management, really. We get this concept. So a value chain, because I want to get into supply chain and product chain and sales chains. Everything's a chain. Chain is just a series of activities, a series of events, a series of something. So view of the firm as a series, a chain, or a network of basic activities that add value to its products and services, and thus add a margin of both value, of both product services and both value to the firm and its customers. So it's not one activity. So it's not calling the customer up on the telephone and trying to sell them something during dinner, which is not a good value opportunity either. And I'm talking about telephone solicitation, which for some strange reason has been the most popular when people talk about CRM. But that's not even part of CRM anymore. But long story short, it's the chain or the series of there being an entire process and a couple of years, a year, 6 months of repeated activities and a bunch of different activities that all work together, which is what we're end up doing these days to create the chain or the value chain per se. So supply chain, take a look at that word, because we have customer chain, we have customer life cycles, and we have a value chain for customers. And actually, let me just start with customer, because I was going to go to supply, but let's just start with customer. It doesn't work as well as it does with supplies, because supplies are a little bit more cut and dry. Customers are a little bit more finicky. But to approach a customer, to have actually talk to a customer, or for a customer to express interest in the company initially would be like the first stage of it. Retaining the customer, getting the customer to actually buy something would be another stage or another activity part of it. Having the customer buy again, or having the customer come back if the product needs support, or if the product needs to be refurbished or something. And then selling the customer on multiple products within the company, and then hopefully selling the customer's friends and family to multiple products in the family, and then that would be the customer value chain. That would be the customer life cycle, which is kind of similar to a product life cycle if you think about it. And product life cycles go through, the initial prototyping stage, the launch of the product, the first version, the second version, the third version, and then through the phase out, the close down of the product, and then the product replacement with another product. So you can take all these business activities and break them down into these life cycles or chains, and then describe all the functionality and figure out, well, where are we in the value chain for customers, and where are we in the value chain for that, and where can we improve in the chain for these different things. So in automation, it's proven, in my opinion, actually, it's proven the most successful in supply chain, actually. Because in supply chain, we don't have as many different personalities or as many issues that we have with customers. We have a product that we need to buy, we have a quantity that we need, and we have a delivery date that we need. So if we put it all into a system, get all the people who sell sheet metal and all the people who buy sheet metal, put them together, and then have them bid back and forth and negotiate on pricing and on terms and on delivery and on quality. Quality is important as well. Then we can automate the entire process to make it happen faster, to take the bottleneck out of the procurement of the supplies, and we can just have them show up. So that works really well with technology because we don't have any humans involved with that. So they took the same technology that they applied towards the automation of, let's say, supply chain, they put it on humans for customer relationship management, and then they really destroyed the concept. And they have, CRM has actually destroyed a lot of relationships, if you think about it. Because a lot of people get upset with companies, and they won't even buy the product from them again after the CRM system has ruined the relationship. So I, for one, I don't like it when I call a company and I can't get to a human. Or they send me to a website when I call on the phone. And I go, I don't want to go to a website. I want to talk to a human. So anyway, that's part of supply chain management, actually. So in terms of the value chain, it's more than just the activities of the particular department So it's more than just customer service or supply in terms of manufacturing. It's more than just the plant. It's more than just the buyers or the operations managers. So we have the firm infrastructure, we have the human resource management, we have technology development, we have procurement, we have all these different subcategories and all these different departments that we're working with that lead to the bottom margin. And the margin is going to be, what level of success are we having given all these factors that work together. Because the interesting thing about, if you look at this as a company value chain, then you see the big picture and then you can improve somewhere in the company to make that significant change in terms of what needs to happen. Or it's not necessarily always a fix to a problem. Sometimes everything's running great. And if things are running great, you still need to pay attention to this stuff because you still need to improve for the future. When you stop improving because everything's great, one of these days you're going to end up becoming the failure because you didn't keep up or you didn't pay attention because you thought everything was good. So it's like not doing any preventative maintenance at all on anything for the business. And then one of these days something's going to happen that's going to be catastrophic. It's going to take the business down, essentially. It's probably going to be your department if you're the person who's not doing anything. Anyway, so we have in terms of the concept, here is another. So this is the bigger picture in terms of departments and processes. And then we've got the support processes or the business processes. If we kind of divide them out into layers, what we're looking at over here now is Porter's 5 competitive forces and the strategies applied towards value chain as a concept. So instead of this leading to the margin, kind of the number that we're sitting at, we got the competitive advantages over here. And in terms of the competitive advantages, then we have it broken down into 2 primary sources, or 2 primary functions, the support processes and then the primary business processes. So usually that's when they tell you when you go apply for a job, you usually ask, is this going to be like a support? Is this a support role? Or is this a business process role? You don't want to be in support, it's usually lower paying. It's the front end people versus the back line people who are doing the business processes or the kind of main functionality that's going on versus the support functionality. So for some examples in terms of support processes, if we were to look at, most people understand human resources. If we look at the human resources department, that would be like employee benefits or something like working with the benefit plan for the employees. And you might think, well, how does that lead to the value chain of the organization? If you have happy employees, you have happy, productive employees. Usually they become stronger, better workers, and they have more loyalty, and they hang around longer. And if you give them better benefits, they might actually live longer. Be happier, and long story short, fewer problems, maybe some fewer sick days, who knows? And you think, well, how does that lead to the competitive advantages we have? And the theory of Porter's model is everything leads to it. So because you gave the employee a bad dental plan, your sales are going to be down for the year. You blame it on the bad dental plan, Why? Because your lead salesperson got a root canal done because they waited too long, because they didn't have good dental insurance. And then he was out for 6 months, and he's the one that brings in all the sales, So, it could be a root factor. Who knows? I don't know. Hopefully you're not relying upon one guy, and hopefully he doesn't have a root canal in that particular case. So anyway, procurement of resources, e-commerce portals, stuff like that. And then our primary business functions are customer service department, our customer relationship management, our marketing and sales, our targeted marketing, all of our marketing attempts, all of our outbound logistics, all of our operations, and all of our inbound logistics. So here's a case study number 2. We didn't go over the first one, but I'm going to go over this one only because it makes a little bit more sense in terms of the content that I'm going over right now, using IT to tap expert know-how. One of the ways that a lot of companies have been able to streamline with technology, and this is information technology is what IT stands for, we learned that last time, is to come up with a knowledge-based system or an expert system. And you're wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, now we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. So for the longest time in the 1950s, people thought, AI was, trying to make a robot, mimic a human, and then people thought it was all sci-fi fantasy, stuff like that. You know, it's like, where does AI fall into the business world? Well, it didn't. It was like those weird people out there trying to experiment with non-humans or something, right? Now about 99.9% of all applications have at least one AI component to them. And AI is like, still no one likes to say the word artificial intelligence. Instead now it's called, you know, there's subcategories of it called statistical analysis, business analysis, robotics, automation, animation. And then we also have, you know, expert systems, knowledge-based systems, knowledge engineering, agent theory. We have so much AI in our modern day world that nobody even wants to call it AI anymore, but it is. Machine learning. So think about the concept of Siri, you know, on the iPhone. She's AI. She's natural language processing. So instead of typing something in your audio, you're saying it with an audio voice, and you're hearing an audio voice come back. That's natural language processing. Every single person in here uses an intelligent agent on a daily basis. That's your Google search engine or your Yahoo, your search engine. That's an intelligent agent. That's agent theory. Y'all are using computers. Your computer itself has antivirus software on it. It has firewall software on it. Those are all other forms of agents. Sometimes they're goal-based agents. Sometimes they're, you know, different. They have different purposes to them. And then you have an operating system these days that's self-sufficient. If it crashes, it reboots and goes into safe mode. That's artificial intelligence. When you go on the internet and use a shopping cart, that's artificial intelligence. Why? Because you don't have a person standing in front of you ringing you up. You're actually ringing yourself up. So going through and entering in your credit card number, it's another form of artificial intelligence. So anything that replaces human behavior, human activity, take it, apply it towards the business world. 99.9% of everything we're doing right now is an AI component by definition. So expert systems is another way of kind of looking at artificial intelligence as well. And it's like a lot of companies are actually doing this. Started out with a lot of military systems as well. So as an example, actually this is the case today. So you go to an emergency room. You're not going to get a trained doctor who's going to check you in. Instead, you're going to get a trained receptionist, or what do they call those? These are not medical people. They're business people that know how to work equipment, and the equipment that they're working might be a thermometer or a blood pressure reader, and then a computer. Because they're going to take all the information that they get from the person who walks up, type it into a computer, take and put in the numbers that they need. It goes into what's called an expert system. The expert system looks for combinations of different things. It has a database. It looks up the patient. So how many times has this person been here? What's the history? Yada, yada. It goes through and then it tells the person who's using, the operator who's using the computer, and she's a knowledge worker. So by definition, we call her a knowledge worker because she's working to make the knowledge. She's getting the numbers, taking the temperature, putting it into the computer. Then the computer's going to tell her what to do. Computer's her boss. So I'm going to tell the knowledge worker, hey, put a yellow band on that person or put a red band on that person. Or the system actually automatically alerts the back room, hey, we have a problem. Or tells the person, you know what, maybe you should just go home. You know, puts a little message at, tell the customer to go home and come back after 24 hours and see if they still have symptoms, you know, or something, because they got the flu or something. Or, you know, long story short, it's called an expert system. And so this case study here in Ohio is a US Doc Ask Me Knowledge or Ask Me Network. Some of you guys might be familiar with similar things. You remember the paperclip that was in Microsoft Office for a while? Irritating little paperclip that showed up in the bottom right-hand corner, and it said, ask me a question. You put a question in there, how do I print out the document? And it kind of showed you how to print the document out. That's an expert system. So the triage system example I gave you at the hospital, that's an expert system. We had Ask Jeeves. You guys remember Ask Jeeves? We have, actually we have Bing, which is it's an expert system / search engine to give you suggestions. You go to Barnes & Noble, or you go to Amazon.com and you search for a book. Next thing it's going to do is tell you, oh, you found this book. Hey, people who bought this book also bought this one, this one, this one. That's an expert system. Trying to upsell you. Because, or maybe you want the workbook that goes with this book, or maybe you want, and then that's another artificial intelligent way of creating what's called an expert system or a knowledge-based system. So a lot of companies these days have these knowledge-based systems, and they have knowledge workers who are operating the knowledge-based systems. So now when you start thinking about people's jobs, actually, believe it or not, a lot of people have these jobs, don't really think that they do, but they do. It's like when you tell someone what do you do? Oh, I'm a sales representative. What are you doing? You're a knowledge worker. You're taking all this stuff and you're putting it in the computer, and then you're doing that. You're pretty much working for the computer, actually, or you're working for the system. You're part of the system and you're working for the system. But then that's your job. You think about it and you go, oh, well, why am I getting paid to do that? Because someone's got to do it. They got 5 of you who are all doing it, you know. It's like, actually, not to trivialize it, but it's kind of like the process you went through when you got into the school. You went through the registration department. There's some knowledge workers. They take all your data, they put it into the computer. They say, okay, you're accepted. No, you're not accepted. Here's your letter. You know, what do you got? Give me all this documentation. I put it in there. Now you got to take classes, so you sign up for classes. So when you sign up for your own classes, you're doing your own work, you're on your own knowledge-based working. But you'd rather sign up for the classes, I think, than have somebody else sign you up for you. So, but that's working with an expert system. We could probably create a little bit more automation. We've done a little bit more over the years, but definitely could come up with a few more. So what does this give us? It gives us these automated best practices, and it gives us these automated expert profile creations. And then we have the additional numerous methods for accessing and delivering knowledge. Then we have integrated real-time collaborative services and things that we can offer, and comprehensive analytical capabilities from the system. So if we're using a knowledge system to tap expert knowledge, we could capture different scenarios, put it into the system, have it guide the knowledge worker who's using the system, to have them perform something or say something or to do something. It changes their actions in terms of how they're performing their job. And then it creates a system where you don't have to have a human. It's an artificial intelligent approach. You don't have to have a human micromanage the employee. The employee is managed by the system. So going back to this automated best practices, it comes into this theory called Taylorism. So the art of Taylorism is another management theory. And it is tailor, like to cut, you know, to tailor something. Taylorism, which means you take and you standardize the job, automate it, train the people to use the system, turn them into good working knowledge workers, and then you take the responsibility of there being a problem out of their hands and you put it up into management. And then you hire the best people to meet the profile to be the knowledge worker for that job. And then as long as they're doing their job correctly, they're putting all the numbers in correctly, everything's working, they've done nothing wrong. And it's the management who can come down and take a look at to see, well, why are our numbers down? You know, how come this problem we're having why are we having this problem? And then they can fix the system, and then the workers do their job. So in essence, the knowledge workers turned into what I call trained monkeys, because they just sit there and they operate the computer and they type and they put some stuff in the computer. And we want them to be trained monkeys. We don't want them to think for themselves. We don't want them to make up different things and do different things. You should all be doing the same job the same way for 20 years or for however long you stay at this company. That's how we're going to do it. If we do that, then we can actually have control over the masses. We can have many of those stations. We have economies of scale. We can train this department to work this way. We can train that department to work that way. These guys are working with these guys. Everything mixes together. The data comes together. Then we have we've captured the right knowledge, the right system. Employees hate it. Management loves it. Because employees hate it because they think they're a number. You know, in fact, if you went to college, you're not doing one of these jobs. These are for the jobs for the people who don't normally graduate from college. And they certainly don't have master's degrees. They don't have bachelor's degrees. They have a high school diploma, maybe, hopefully. And they can be trained to operate a computer. Then they're a knowledge worker. You come in, you're working for the computer and for the system. Management's telling you what to do. What are these people? I'm not trying to diminish, because these jobs are good for some people, but especially high school kids take these jobs. Plus working adults, and maybe school wasn't a priority, you didn't get a degree, yada yada. But you see them in grocery stores all the time. From a retail perspective, you see them working in restaurants all the time. Restaurant help, grocery store, local, your local store, your store in general, hardware store, software store. Any type of retail establishment has knowledge workers in there. They're trained to, when the customer comes in, say hi, and help the customer, and then ring the customer up. You put all the stuff, they actually show you how to do the job, hopefully, and you do the job just like everybody else in that store does the same job, or they have different jobs. Some people take the product out of boxes and they put it on the shelves and stuff. Those are called knowledge working jobs, and hopefully you're working with automation and you're working with a computer, hopefully, and you do that so that management can track the sales and knows who's selling more than other people, knows what months are best or what hours of the day are best, or who's. It's not necessarily competition among the salespeople, but if you do put some competition in there, you generally get more throughput, more output out of the employees. But those are the kinds of jobs you get when you first graduate from high school or first graduate from college. And you don't have any work experience and you don't know what you're doing. You don't work there for the rest of your life. Don't work there for the rest of your life. So, using IT to trap expert knowledge. Again, the benefits, we have the expert's knowledge that is organized. We put it into a system, and then when experts are more easily contacted. We have the information, it's in the system, it's in the process that's in the system. We have the ability to capture the knowledge of what time of day is the most sales and what products are selling the most. And so we can figure out automated-wise what products we want to resell. Or let's say, for example, we don't have a trained medical physician behind the counter. We have a receptionist. She's got the knowledge, it's in the system. The knowledge is there. And then the information is reusable, saving 750 hours of repetitive work. You don't have to look at every single case over and over again. It's all the same. It's just take the knowledge from the time you had before, and a lot of technical support's done this way as well, actually. And then you have the return on investment that's tracked. So you know what's going on by people's activities, and you can actually track to see what your ROI is from that point of view. And popular topics are identified so that the DOC, which stands for the document system itself, can be beefed up, can beef up its expertise in some areas. And then to look at this, in terms of how you're going to trap the expert knowledge, you have to look at what the key business challenges are facing the company. And supporting their global marketing as an example, expansion efforts. How's the Ask Me Knowledge system going to help you meet this challenge? How's it going to work? And this is just an example. This Ask Me Knowledge-based system is just an example system. It's kind of a generic system. It's not really generic. It's a document processing system that was put together. But it's just used as a case study example in terms of, how can you make, a business better? Well, focusing on core competencies or focusing on key problems in the organization might be the issue. And before I leave the concept of expert systems, let me say that it applies to not only, it's more than just the retail sales or the lower end jobs. So you go to college and then you go to law school and then you graduate and you pass the bar exam and you become an attorney in the United States. You're using an expert system. It's called the law library. You're going in there, some guy comes to you and says, hey, I just murdered my wife. What do I do? You go into the law library and say, well, what are the circumstances of this murder? Oh, well, it was really dark and I thought I had a burglar and I had grabbed a baseball bat and I hit her across the head with it. Oh, so it was dark and you couldn't see her, so you really didn't know you were hitting her? So, then your sentence gets reduced down to felony murder to involuntary manslaughter or something, Your sentencing is determined by your situation. Your situation is determined by all the previous cases that are in this database, this expert system that you're going to, because in the United States, we have a system of law that works with previous cases. It's case-based reasoning. So the attorney who's gone to school and spent all this time studying does nothing more than work for the system. They're another knowledge-based worker. They go to the database and they say, okay, well, give me all the cases where people were walking in the dark and they accidentally hit their spouse with a away baseball bat because they thought they were an intruder. Okay. And then it brings up all these similar cases. And the similar cases have an outcome, have a scenario, have an outcome, has a judgment, a sentencing, or has something associated with it. And so the bright attorney finds and says, well, look at these. I have 10 cases, and 5 of them, the guy got away free. Wow. And it's like, well, let's take a scenario. There's 5 of them that got away, and these are actually real. Oh, the wife was on vacation. She wasn't supposed to be home. So the guy had no idea that the wife was actually in the house. No idea, because she was supposed to be out of town. Oh. Or another scenario was maybe, the fact that there was a burglar. One of these cases, in fact, the guy got away free. Didn't actually get sentenced with anything. It was an accident. It wasn't anybody's fault. Or there's a burglar in the house at the same time. And he goes to swing at the burglar and accidentally hits the wife on the head with a bat. That's another true case, actually. And then, it's like that guy got away free. So all the lawyer does is take a look at, and I'm trivializing this, but all the lawyer is going to basically do is compare it to previous scenarios and say, well, in your particular case, it was Halloween, and your wife was dressed up like a lamp. And you didn't know she looked like a lamp. And so you were hitting the lamp for some reason, some odd reason, why you were hitting a lamp instead of your wife. But long story short, you apply that scenario, which is case-based reasoning, which is a knowledge-based system. You're a knowledge worker. And you present it to the judge and say, okay, you may go free. Or, no, we're not buying that story. We don't believe you. You're getting involuntary manslaughter, or you're getting that, or you're getting this. Anyway, that's how it kind of, to trivialize it, to make it smaller in terms of the concept. That's how the legal system works. What about the doctor? You go to the doctor's office, you show them this, and maybe you got like a rash on your arm or something. He looks at the rash and goes, let's see, the little bumps are about 2 centimeters apart. How long have you had the rash? 2 months. Oh, okay. He leaves the room and comes back. He's going to look at his medical books. Let's see, rash. Oh, under the arms. There we go, rash. I'm trivializing this as well. But he's looking at a medical index. He's going, rash. Or he's on a computer. I said, let me Google rash. And I say, 2 centimeters apart. Okay, ask the patient if they've been in the woods. So he goes back and says, have you been in the woods? Yeah, we just went camping about 2 months ago. At the same time you got maybe it's poison oak, or something, And then anyway, they guess. Just like the judge guesses, did the guy really mean to kill his wife? Was it an accident? That's knowledge-based. That's knowledge-based working. That's a knowledge worker. Yeah, he's a medical doctor. He just has a little bit more training. Well, he has a lot more training in medicine than most people do, which is actually kind of funny. Because now we have all these medical, I can't remember the name of it. You go online and WebMD or something like that. You go online and you can self-diagnose everything. And people are generally wrong. Most of the time, actually, because you're not a trained medical physician. So garbage in, garbage out. You're not looking at all the numbers. You're not looking at everything. Plus, you're relying upon a system. Or you go to Wikipedia, and you're a computer science major, and you're looking at Wikipedia. Don't look at Wikipedia. It's wrong. It's a bunch of. It's better than WebMD. You can edit Wikipedia, though. WebMD was supposed to be written by medical physicians, doctors who actually knew what they were doing. Yeah, it's okay, it's good, except for the fact that you're not a trained physician. So what you're thinking and what they're thinking are probably 2 different lines of thinking. Probably not the same, not 100% accurate. You can go to Wikipedia and you can find garbage and you can change it. And then somebody else can come in later and change your good stuff, make it garbage again. That's a knowledge-based system as well. It's an encyclopedia of who knows what it is stuff. We also have law libraries out there that are accessible. Nexus, Lexus, we have a bunch of other law libraries for people. Oh my God, I just committed murder. Then they go online and they figure out how to do their own defense. Seriously, people do that. I don't know, after they commit murder. Most people who commit murder are not trained on the computer. Sometimes they don't even own a computer, not to stereotype or anything like that. But you could have accidentally murdered somebody, and then you'd be online trying to Google, Or some of you online and you Googled ITU to get here, you know. Or maybe you saw a thing that said CPT first semester. Oh, wow, cool, I'm going to go to ITU. I got CPT in the first term, you know. So that's, the internet is a knowledge-based system. And you're a knowledge worker when you found the school. So, long story short, 99.9% of your entire life is artificially intelligent. It's artificial intelligence. And you're a knowledge worker, and you're just going and looking at other people's knowledge, and you're trying to make decisions on what you find and what you see. That's how we shop for products. You know, when you want to go buy a car, or you want to buy a house, or you want to buy a big ticket item, most people will research a little bit. You're doing knowledge discovery. You're going through and you're finding out knowledge. Like, this model of car lasts longer than the other ones of the same type. This is how much this one costs versus that one over there. And you have all the criteria for everything you're looking at. Why are we talking about this? Why am I talking about this? Well, because this is what we're working with in modern companies. So every single company, if you're like this and you're 99.9% of your life is artificially intelligent, you're a knowledge worker and you're working with knowledge bases, well, shouldn't the companies be doing this too? And shouldn't the companies know that the customers are doing this? Which is why now there's more web support, so you can find your products, your services. Your products are going to stand up. They're going to fit into, they're going to be branded and marketed a certain way to fit into some sort of a category that you're going to find, which is kind of like how ITU put up those little ads that said CPT first semester, because we're looking for international students who want CPT in their first semester. So, long story short, we're authorized to do it. It's legal, but some of the other schools aren't. So they can't do it, which gives us a bonus. So as a brand, or as a, you know, some student's going to find us that way, maybe, who knows. But you did your own knowledge discovery. So as a company, and you're looking at your competitive factors, we could market ourselves, brand ourselves, get the knowledge out there on the internet for internet marketing and social media marketing. We don't do very much social media marketing, but a lot of companies do, actually, which is advertising through social media, which we probably should do more of. But anyway, long story short, we can do that to promote, to get new customers. If we're a business, we can do that to cut down on our operating expenses. If we're trying to run a hospital, we can't pay, we're not going to be able to pay trained doctors to stand in front and take in patients that show up. Anyway, on that tone, now I'm going to lose my thought completely when I'm done. We have our attendant, so I'm going to pause this. Let me pause. All right, now that I've completely lost my train of thought, let's see. What's written on the slide? Maybe that'll help me. All right, so knowledge-based systems, we're talking about that. Looking at the reasons why we're going to do this. Yoo-hoo! We're back. Hello. Okay, thank you. All right, so the key business challenges, let's say, for example, you're a company and you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to use this new way of doing stuff? And believe it or not, the internet created this new way of doing stuff for the most part. Although businesses, for the longest time, have become more AI approached, even before the internet, we still had this kind of knowledge-based working system, but it was all paper-based. So now that things aren't paper-based anymore, there's no form to fill out, invoices, all this stuff that was done manually. We do it all on the computer now. We do it now all on the internet. Then we have a lot more automation that gets created out of that. In fact, we have document exchange now. So the concept of the invoice is one computer talking to another computer through EDI or something, basically. All right, so you're a company and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to use this to my advantage? Why do I care about even looking at any of this stuff? Well, what challenges are you facing as a company? What are your goals as a company? Are you trying to become global? Are you trying to reduce your costs? Are you trying to attract more customers? Are you trying to improve your management structure? Are you trying to track more of your business activities? Are you trying to capture more of your knowledge in the organization? Those are all good questions to ask in terms of common ways of putting this to good use. There's way too much chatter in the back of the room. It just, attendance has been taken. You on the telephone, the person who's talking on the telephone, if you could just take it outside, it'd be a lot more polite. Thank you. Otherwise, it's just majorly, I can't imagine a student talking on a phone during a lecture. So, no other school but this one. Anyway, long story short, I'm trying to talk. All right, so How can the system help? How can the system identify weaknesses? Basically improve strong points. I'm not going to go through the scenario, and I have not gone through this case study scenario because it doesn't really matter what this company did or how this company. To learn from it, basically you're looking at, well, how can we think about different things in the organization that might be improved through more knowledge discovery or more knowledge work? It's not necessarily a sake of a company deciding we need to be on the internet. Originally what ended up happening was we had companies, and this is actually kind of sort of like how the .com and the .bust actually happened. We had a lot of companies that said, all this internet, all this knowledge, all this work system, we can just automate everything and we can just be an internet company. We don't even have to exist anymore. And we can sell pet food online. Or we can sell groceries online. And then they really didn't think about the business model in terms of, okay, both of those two products actually failed miserably. You know, pets.com, we had Webvan, we had a bunch of other companies that failed miserably, and they're popular cases. They were popular cases about 5 years ago, back when people were trying to study, well, what happened to this .com? It .bust, you know, it went under. Many factors, more than just twofold. But long story short, there was part of it involved a bunch of companies that decided to sell products and services online that didn't make any sense. Why are you going to buy tires online and pay hundreds of dollars to have them shipped to you? Why are you going to buy a 50-pound bag of dog food online and pay to have it shipped to you? It doesn't make any sense. There's no dollars and cents. It doesn't work that way. Or better yet, perishables. Or better yet, isn't it faster just to go to the grocery store and buy your groceries than it is to wait for them to show up? So then people started thinking about it and like, well, all right, so they still sell they still sell tires online, they still sell groceries online. People that buy the tires are in Alaska, or they're on an island, or they're in some remote area where they can't go to the local tire store and buy the tires. Or better yet, you're in a nursing home, you're an elderly person, and you don't drive, then you're going to get your groceries delivered. So there's a market, there's people for these products and services, but it wasn't towards everybody. So knowing the market and actually applying some business sense to it, the .bust is pretty much over with at this point. The internet's back up again, it's back and running, it's successful. There's a lot of people that have internet companies right now that are doing very well. But they're companies that make sense in terms of what products or services they're selling. Another approach you can take on this entire concept of automation and using artificial intelligence is employing some business process reengineering. So BPR is your other, I don't like to say BPR though, but BPR is business process reengineering. There's also BPI, business process improvement, and then there's continuous CPI, continuous process improvement. And then that gets into, well, we can take that off on a tangent for QA, for quality assurance. And then we have quality programs, quality departments. And there's another area, well, quality itself is it's a branch of its own. Another area of business topics that get into all of these other things. So you could go to college, graduate, become a consultant, and all you do is BPI, business process improvement. You come in and you do business process improvement for many different reasons. Engineering managers should be doing business process reengineering, business process improvement, and continuous process improvement. So business process improvement is when you have layoffs. So you always know when you have layoffs because when it ends up when you're doing business process improvement. So a consultant, and you're normally consultants, they come in from the outside, they come in and they take a look at what people are doing and how the labor is organized and how the company is running. And maybe the goal is to cut the head count by half. Or maybe the goal is to actually do things correctly. Maybe the company's not doing things correctly. Or maybe the goal is to do it faster. Same number of people, but we have to get more throughput. We have to get things done faster. So usually it's a guy from the outside because the people on the inside are tainted. It's like programmers testing their own source code. It never works. You're too close to it. So a guy from the outside comes in, consultant, BPI specialist, comes in, takes a look, reorganizes all the workflow. You take the existing people, you put them into the jobs, depending upon what they're good at. You take a look at all the resumes of all the people. You place the people into the new jobs. You get rid of the excess people you don't need anymore, and the excess jobs you don't need anymore. And voila, you have a better running company. because and it saves money normally, and you have a lot better process going on. That's BPI. Because you've waited too long, you have to take an extreme measure to go fix things. So if you're doing CPI, you're not doing it all in one shot. There's no layoffs, you just don't hire. So continuous process improvement takes, instead of once a year, twice a year, or twice every couple of years. Usually BPI happens once every 5 years, or when the company has a record loss. Then they go, oh, we have to do something quickly. Our board of directors is going to be mad if we don't fix the problem. Then they do BPI. So CPI replaces BPI. You don't have to do BPI if you're doing CPI. Continuous process improvement, which means you're constantly taking in reports and you're looking at numbers and statistics. You're adding people where the people need to be added. You're taking people away and moving them around where they don't need to be. You're continuously on a daily, weekly, monthly basis improving the processes that's going on in the business so that you can eventually, get to where you're supposed to be goal-wise, the strategic goal of the organization. And you're not going to do drastic changes. So the textbook definition of business process reengineering, BPR, is basically the fundamental rethinking and the radical redesign of the business processes to achieve dramatic improvement in cost, speed, service, quality, something like that. But before I switch to a totally different concept here, these are usually done by mostly engineering managers who come in and take a look to see what's going on. In terms of, in fact, you think about it and you go, well, I'm an engineering manager, why am I doing BPR? Because hopefully you know the technology, and you know what's supposed to be built, you know what quality you're supposed to achieve, you know what processes go into place. You see what you have, and then you go, oh, that's not right. And you fix all the problems, you reorganize all the people, and then you end up essentially making the department or the organization more productive or more effective, depending upon the goals of the organization. So value chain analysis. And we have this thing called disintermediation, reintermediation. So this is actually giving us our disintermediation object. So here's why companies like e-commerce, and I'm kind of switching the topic, but because the topic's on knowledge and it's on using technology and innovation to improve business processes. So here's what the e-commerce model did to businesses. It's really good for businesses, really bad for customers, essentially. So if you think about it, e-commerce was a business solution for businesses to make more money. You benefited by it because you have the ease of convenience, and you have, products and services that are available to you that are not local to you, globalization, all these benefits that you got out of it. So in essence, it's a win-win. But if you went to Fry's Electronics right now and you showed them an ad, they do price matching, by the way, of another advertiser, they'll price match it, no problem. In fact, you'll even go to the online store. Sometimes they won't take that pricing, but sometimes they will. Hey, look, I can buy it here. Consumers right now are trained to pay the same thing or pay the lesser of the two prices. But you're price matching a store with an internet company. So what the store did is said, okay, instead of selling it in the store, we sell it on the internet for the same price, or slightly less if we feel generous, but we don't have to. Sometimes you'll find the pricing on the internet is higher than it is in a physical store, on many different products actually. Much higher, because it's availability. Not available in the store. Available on the internet. Internet can get a higher price than if you went to the store to buy it. Which is actually kind of ironic, because if you look at the disintermediation model, you'll see why. And the numbering, this was in PowerPoint and I brought it up in preview. So this sweater cost is this column right here. This is $48.50, $40.34, and $20.45, which is the manufacturer's cost of the sweater, given all the distribution channels. So what businesses did with e-commerce is they got rid of all, and this is why they call it disintermediation. They got rid of all of the intermediate channels in the value chain. And this is actually more, it's not really a supply chain, it's a distribution chain. So they got rid of this here, reduced their costs, and they're selling it to the customer for the same price. So the line on the top, and I'll use Barnes & Noble actually as an example of this, and what ends up happening now is Barnes & Noble will just close their door. If they can make the same amount of money on the same textbook if you bought it online, why should they sell it face-to-face in an on-ground store? They don't make as much money on it that way. So if we're talking about a sweater, we're talking about a book, we're talking about a product or service, they're all coming from the manufacturer. Someone's making the product. So in the top one here, we have the distribution warehouse, the publishers. And the publishers are distributing the product. And then it's going to a retail store. So it's going to a Barnes & Noble store. It's going to another bookstore. Or another, if this is a sweater, it's going to, let's say, Target or something. So we can go halfway in between, and we're going halfway. And this is this intermediation. It's getting rid of getting rid of the intermediate channels in the distribution. So it's shortening the value chain, shortening the product delivery time. Excuse me, the product channels. I'm going to do it as a channel perspective. So now we have some that don't go through distribution, where you just go directly to retail. Those are your retail value chains. That's why a Target store can sell something cheaper than, let's say, a specialty store. It doesn't have a chain, doesn't go through manufacturing distribution this way. Versus the internet, down here on the bottom is the internet. Instead of going through the retailer, going through the distributor, instead we just sell directly to the customer. If we sell directly to the customer, this guy doesn't get a piece, this guy doesn't get a piece. Pieces meaning the profit, making from the sale. So this dollar value goes directly, this one is going to 1, 2, 3 items. This guy's going to 2, this one's going to 1, the manufacturer. So don't you want to be the manufacturer? If you want to be the manufacturer, what you're going to do is sell directly to the customer. So then we have re-intermediation. So now we have manufacturers who are trying to be retailers and distributors and do customer service. But you're a manufacturer. Because you don't have all these other people in the value chain. Now you're supposed to do it. They're doing it through automation. That's how you get the eBay shopping cart, the eBay channel, the auctions channel. You're your own salesperson, by the way. And then you're going through your shopping cart technology. You're going through your distribution. What Barnes & Noble did was actually kind of interesting. They got rid of the store. No store. They're actually getting rid of some stores. They're keeping some, but they are getting rid of some other ones. Because this model only works in a very tech-savvy area. California is getting to the point where we can't support the stores. You go out to the Midwest, there's no internet. Nobody's on the internet out there. You still need the store. You go out to even Colorado, you'll see more Barnes & Noble stores in the state of Colorado than you will here. Not to mention states or anything, but farther to the middle of the United States you get, the fewer internet connections, no hotspots, nothing. In fact, people don't have computers, nor do they have internet access at their homes. They're very low tech out there. And then you go further, you go to the East Coast, and they're high tech again. So it's kind of weird. But long story short, you need the stores in some areas, you don't need them in other areas. So what they did is they focused on the distributor. And here's a distributor for books. They're not making the books. So Pearson's is an example, McGraw-Hill, all these publishing companies. They contract it out, they make the books, they have the inventory of the books. So you go and you buy a book from Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble never touches the book, never sees the book, doesn't even know what you bought. In fact, nobody knows what you bought. It's all done on paperwork. So you filled out the order, you bought the book, a piece of paper goes to the publisher who sends it directly to the customer. But the publisher didn't sell you the book, Barnes & Noble sold you the book. Actually, some of the distribution is the same. You go to Amazon, you go to Barnes & Noble, you go any retailer out there. You get the same brown paper cover, you get the same packaging, the same product, just came from different sources if you're buying it right from the publisher. If you're buying it from another person, that's a totally different story. But that's the new distribution channel. Works great because then you have access to multiple inventories. You don't actually have to keep anything. So they used to call it drop shipping. So the publisher would drop ship it to the customer. So it never made it to anything associated with the person you bought it from. It went directly from manufacturer to customer. But it went through a couple of different channels. Now the channels are all electronic. They're all paperwork. So you become a paperwork society. So if the paperwork doesn't cost as much, especially when you use EDI and electronic data, EDI stands for electronic data inter-exchange. So you're sending one computer sending a message to another computer to another computer. There's no humans involved in this. You're not paying anybody an hourly wage to do anything. Nobody's turning the lights on at the Barnes & Noble store, sweeping the floor, or wiping down the counters, or doing whatever they do over there, stocking the bookshelves. No one's doing any of that. You're not paying the heating bill either. You're not paying any of those bills, but you're still getting the same price for the book. That's why I say e-commerce was for businesses. It was designed to make businesses more profitable, and it has. It's the same price for the book, none of these other expenses, which is fantastic. And then you use the technology to streamline it, make it more profitable, provide better quality of service and everything. So now we have customers that do eBay, they're eBay businesses, but it's peer-to-peer, or excuse me, customer to customer. They're not, maybe some of them actually got sophisticated enough so they got a business license. They're actually running as a business now. But they're just consumers selling products to other consumers for the most part. And half of them have never seen these products, don't even know what they're selling really. They just have access to it. They work the agreement out, so whoever does have it sends it to them. So it's kind of the Barnes & Noble model. That's your modern day e-commerce streamlined model. Works with technology. What did they do? They did business process re-engineering. Took the entire business model, re-engineered it to work electronically, got rid of the humans. So you're doing artificial intelligence. If you're not doing human, you're doing AI. You got the AI going on for you. You got the knowledge-based system working for you. You got everything electronic, everything computerized. And you're doing the same thing you were doing when you had a bookstore, but now you're 50% more profitable. So as an engineering manager, that's what you're going to be doing for your company for the most part. You can't go in there and just, oh, what did the last guy do? Okay, what's going on? You know, so some of you will be doing business process re-engineering, continuous process improvement, trying to figure out how to make this electronic, how to get rid of all these people, or better yet, how to use these people more effectively, more productively, how to improve the product. So it depends on what you're hired for. Everybody's going to have a totally different job because you don't know what they're going to hire you for. You don't know what you're going to be doing. You're not going to be managing, well, some of you actually will manage people, I should say. Some of you will manage people. Some of you will manage technology. Some of you will manage the product, the development of the product. But in the area of engineering, for the most part, you're applying your management skills, your ability to analyze, think through radical changes or not radical changes, improvements for the most part. So here's BPR versus BPI. So business process re-engineering versus business improvement. So there's actually two separate words, two separate acronyms. The re-engineering is generally the layoffs. The improvement is you're going to improve things, but it's not so radical. So here's our business process re-engineering. You have the word radical written there. Business process improvement is incremental. We're a retail store. We're trying to be more profitable. So we got rid of the we added more salespeople, which is, let me give you a more positive human example. In retail, it's not necessarily getting rid of the salespeople. People are there because they want to be at the store. We're a hip clothing store, so we hired a bunch of young, good-looking salespeople with foreign accents that sound good. And we're located in an American mall in the middle of suburbia. So all the housewives that go to the store, or all the locals that go, oh wow, the guy's got a really cool accent, or he's got a cool accent, you know, oh wow, and they look good. They're like supermodels. Oh, and they're wearing the product. This is actually a strategy. I wish Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever, I can't remember. They do this all the time. You know, they put up big pictures of people with, you know, where are these people? They don't exist. They're like supermodels. You know, all the girls look good, all the guys look good, all the product looks good, the shelving looks good. They play the nice music, you know, you walk in, it's all hip sounding. Actually, Abercrombie does the whole air thing. You get the nice breeze of air with the perfume smell in it, you know. It's the experience of shopping at the store. You walk into it, and you get helpful people who think you're cool. You know, hey, how are you? You know, like, are you really talking to me? That sells product. So they put a lot of them in there. Just flood the whole store with these people. People go in because it sells product, and they'll buy product, and they'll be more successful. So that's an example of actually using people. However, if you're hiring, in fact, here's the other thing that a lot of the fast food places are doing now, especially in San Jose. You've noticed, probably will notice soon, they've gotten rid of all of the overweight people. Seriously, if you're going to go to McDonald's to buy something, do you really want to be, you're looking at the guy who's selling you the food, and he's 300 pounds. What's that telling you about the food? So get people who don't eat McDonald's to go to McDonald's. And I'm not trying to criticize McDonald's or anything, but it's from, Super Size Me. Have you guys seen Super Size Me? You'll never eat fast food again. It's a movie, Super Size Me. Rent it, but rent it on an empty stomach. Watch it on an empty stomach. It's kind of gross. I guess a guy lives on fast food for a month, and he comes down with all these diseases and these problems and stuff, and he gains weight. And it's all about the health factors of eating pretty much bad food constantly. But long story short, fast food places are doing that now. And you see, actually, I just saw the other day McDonald's has said now, I think it's McDonald's, has a new French fry, 40% less fat, 40% less carbohydrates. I don't know what they're calling these fries. They have to give it a new name because you're not going to order them if they're called French fries. It's for the people who stopped eating French fries so they can eat French fries again. And then they're replacing, getting rid of a lot of the overweight staff, hiring people who are skinny because they don't want you to be looking at the person while you're ordering and going, uh-oh. It's just like the perfume-smelling air conditioning and the supermodels selling you their clothes. That's the same concept. So, okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just to show you as an example, the business process improvement versus business process re-engineering, and to emphasize the point that these are two separate concepts. Engineering managers end up doing the re-engineering, especially when you're new, when you get hired on. They want fresh ideas. They want you to come in, reorganize our group, get your group to work more effectively. You're going to re-engineer it because there's a problem. Because if you had done the business improvement and after you get done doing the re-engineering, you'll do the improvement continuously after that. You're looking at short versus long-term issues that are going on for the time required for this. The narrowing within functions, the past and present versus the future on your horizon. You're trying to build a better future for the organization if you're doing the re-engineering versus the improvements. So, looking at bottom-up versus top-down approaches. They're two completely different approaches. However, most people look at the two words and they go, "Oh, there's only an I versus an R." You go, "Oh, isn't it the same thing? Oh, yeah, that business process improvement stuff." Or do you mean business process re-engineering? So it's not, the two words should be drastically different, but they're not. They're very sounding both the same. Another thing that we've got, and you don't have to just crawl out from under a rock. If you haven't just crawled out from under a rock and you've been around for a while, you're familiar with just-in-time, you're familiar with inventory-less manufacturing these days. That's the other thing you have to do is become more familiar. If you're going to work in management in this area, you're going to have to become more familiar with the modern trends. How do you do that? You get the trade magazines. So you're going to be an engineering manager and you're going to work with fabrication or molding, or you're going to work with circuit boards or something. Then you get the publications, and the publications are like the trade magazines, and you start looking at what are the company's products and services that they're investing in. What are they doing? Nobody has an inventory anymore. It's outdated. There's no such thing as an inventory. In fact, retail stores don't have inventories anymore either. They don't have warehouses anymore either. So then you start looking at, well, what do they have then? And then they have highly sophisticated electronic systems that they install on their networks that do most of the ordering, or most of the control for stock and for delivering. And then they only have it delivered to the manufacturing or to this is the hospital floor in this example from storeroom, when it's needed. So you don't have to worry about it. And then you have cross-functional processes that work, which is actually kind of one of the things that, we probably need to do more in this school of cross-functional? Why do we have two people, that do the same job? One's in one department, the other one's in the other department. Or why can't the person just merge and do both? Actually, and I'm using this school as an example because I can see where cross-functional processes might actually make more sense. Like the enrollment people with the counselors, with the advisors, nobody has access to anything. So, in fact, as a department chair, I don't even see your transcripts, but a student will come to me and say, well, what classes should I take? And I'm like, well, that would depend upon what registration was going to offer next term. But we don't have any cross-functional processes here, so my department, we don't know about that department over there or what classes are going to be offering, so I can't really advise you on that. Or better yet, you're enrolling in the university and you want to know, well, what about this department? They don't know about any departments, essentially. All they know about is how to sign you up. Once you get signed up, then you got to figure out, as a student, you got, what department am I supposed to do? What classes am I supposed to take? What is this thing with attendance? Everything's like separated out into separate little silos, essentially, and everybody's on an island of their own, with their own. All these departments are not crossed. If we did more crossing, we could probably get rid of, we could probably make people more effective and more functional. I don't know about necessarily getting rid of bodies. We probably don't need to, because we actually got rid of a bunch of bodies not too long ago, and we did reduce the head count to make it run more effectively. But long story short, finance could be part of, billing and collections and delivery. And, we don't manufacture a product over here, but we have classes that we teach, and we could be more with customer service or with registrations or something of that nature. So I wish I was more involved with facilities, because I like this classroom and I always find my classes in here. But when the facilities people do the scheduling and we get a new guy in there, he doesn't know that. So then I got to change everything around every term, get put in here. So agility, I'm going to end at this topic here, actually, because this is a good stopping point. When you think of agile development, everything's agility, everything's agile these days. So that's the hot topic in software engineering, hot topic in projects and engineering management. Everything's agile. So what does it mean by that? The ability of a company to prosper in rapidly changing, continuously fragmenting global markets, high quality, high performance, customer configured products and services. Think of evolution, think of changing, think of constantly changing, and building products and services for change, and re-engineering for change. As an example, if you guys are going to be registering online constantly, we probably could take the resources that we've dedicated right now to on-ground registration, allocate them to online. Which is actually kind of interesting. Because one of the things we're doing actually is having online classes soon. And I recently found out, and you guys are going to love this one. It used to be, originally we thought, I don't know who interpreted this rule, but they thought, I was told originally that international students could only take one for their entire degree program. Now it seems like it's one per term. Yeah, we're double checking on that and making sure that that's the case. If it is, then starting in spring, you can take one class per term. So you don't have to necessarily do weekend classes anymore. And I don't want to teach weekend classes anymore. I don't like the weekend classes. But if that's the case, then IT will be dedicating a substantial amount of their energy, and this is an agile example here, the changing environment. Well, we're going to put more work and energy into online education if that's the case. If we're able to offer it, then we're going to dedicate some more resources to it, build it up a little bit better, improve the platform, make it more, it's actually pretty good right now, but make it more accessible, faster running, streamlined, registration goes into there, everything would be kind of, geared towards that, because then, you'll still have to take on-ground classes because you're international students, but you can take one of them per semester online. That would be a bonus, actually. Some people who don't like to commute, who want to work, and in the evening when you have nothing better to do or something, you can go online and check out your class and do what you're supposed to do for that class. And it's essentially a self-study kind of thing. I mean, you're reading the book and you're doing the assignments and you're participating in discussions, but you're doing it on your time, in your schedule. You're not sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day, 2 days straight on a weekend day, which I think is just totally absurd. But long story short, that's an agility concept. Switching over, being more agile, being able to transition into a different classroom environment and meeting that and putting that into the scheduling system and making that part of the student's curriculum and offering the right kind of classes that would fit in with the rest of the schedule and stuff like that. It's an agile approach to change, to market change, and this is for a university, so it's, in fact, you'll find that a lot of universities have done this, and they've been doing this for the last 20 years. We're just now getting a hold of it, but other universities have definitely beat us to this concept. You can go to community colleges and take online courses. You can go to California State Universities and take online courses. I always thought, why doesn't I2 offer online courses? We're just a little slower on the uptake, but our change happens a little bit slower. But we're still trying to change. We're still trying to improve. And I think it's a positive step, actually. So an Agile company, that's what we're trying to be. Our new initiative, we have some new management who's making us more agile. So actually, I've noticed some good changes actually at I2 within the last 6 months since the new management took over. And as an agile company, by definition, is a company that can make a profit in markets with broad product ranges, offering online classes as well as traditional classes. And short model lifetimes, being able to do it quickly and produce orders individually in arbitrary lots and sizes and things. Well, we don't manufacture a product here, but being able to offer a larger variety of courses quickly, being able to offer online courses quickly, get that up and running, and being able to offer students what they want, give them a product that they might be happier with, which is part of the Agile concept. So. Anyway, becoming an Agile company doesn't happen overnight. What did Dell do as a computer company? And I'll end after Agile, actually. I said I was going to end a few minutes ago. Becoming an Agile company is an example for Dell, agility in action. Dell actually makes custom computers, so they make custom configuration systems. Actually, there's a lot of universities that have Dell labs. Gateway and Dell actually did kind of the same thing where they customize the configurations. They build the product to order for what the customer wants. So if the university doesn't want disk drives or they don't want USB access because they don't want students to put stuff on the network, or they want extra ones because they want students to use thumb drives to save their files and stuff, or if they don't need this but they need that. So computer configurations for the most part. And it's a customer-focused company. And they championed on mass customization, huge computer labs and systems. And then built-to-order business model, and 25,000 a day typical day of computer sales. So building up the sales, tight supply chain management, rarely more than 2 hours worth of parts and inventory. So, in terms of mass customization, providing individual products with maintaining high volumes of production. So you're able to go into a company and provide all of the computer systems for the company, or go into a university and supply 5 different classrooms with 50 computers in a classroom or something. That's mass customization. And then each one of the classrooms might be a little bit different or something. And then Agile competitors competing with customers. So types of agility might be with the customer base. I'm not going to read through this whole thing. You can read on your own. Might be with partnering up with companies to, in fact, that's what the universities do. In fact, that's what we're going to try and do actually as well, for transfer agreements, for partnering with other universities for degree completion. We're going to put in, probably not for another year, but we'll have a bachelor's degree for computer science degree completion. So you come for the last 2 years instead of doing all 4 years here. And we'll be partnering with other universities, both international and domestic universities, for transfer back, to do degree preparation so they can transfer in and guaranteed admissions and stuff like that. We are actually trying to work out for our PhD programs, from transitioning from master's degrees programs into doctorate degree programs. So providing articulation agreements and partnering with other universities, which is an angle that we can be agile at as an organization. So IT is essentially becoming an agile company, agile university for the most part. We should have done that a long time ago, but never like the present to make changes. So in terms of operations, you can also do it, by, we don't necessarily need to do this, but other companies have installed the CRM and the supply chain management and the ERP and stuff, which is kind of like what we're getting into next week when I talk about ERP and different types of changes to become more agile as a company and to build more agility into the concept. So technologies for more modularization, integration of business processes, partnerships, systems to better promote the business and better sell the concept in terms of whatever products and services you're working with. So I'm going to end this, so someone remind me, I didn't even make it through this lecture, so I'm going to end at slide 52 of lecture 2. Some lectures will go faster through, some of them will be shorter through. I'm trying to lay the foundation of the big picture for some of the other concepts I'm going to bring up starting next week, actually. So eventually we're going to get into more specific types of systems and more specific types of management technology and things for different types of companies to re-engineer or to engineer the management science. So I'll end it this time so we can get out a little, this is a good stopping point actually. So unless we have questions, comments, or concerns. Oh, you know what? Before I completely end, I was going to go over the first case study. So we have a few minutes. Let me do that actually. So we have a lot of people have been showing me assignment number 1, which is good. I don't have due dates on anything. It's December 19th or something like that, or 18th, 16th. I don't know, something towards the end of the year. Case studies. If you go into the case studies folder, you'll see that we have case study instructions. If you open up the case studies instructions, and then if you click on the one that says read case study, you'll see, and the first one is actually Dell and Intel and GE, competitive advantages of information technology. So it's on the lecture stuff that I've been going over. So you read the case study, and then at the end of the case study, you see there's these 3 questions. And the 3 questions are way wide open. It says, do you agree with the arguments made? Do you agree with the arguments made by this business leader in terms of the support for competitive advantages of IT? And what are several ways that IT could provide a competitive advantage to a business? Yada, yada. Pull from the lectures I've given to you so far. I've gone over Porter's model. I've gone over a bunch of other stuff. You can also do research as well to discover different things that you can use. Or you can use your background. Or you can use anything, actually, as your textbook. We don't have a textbook for this course. But if you look up Porter's model, or if you look up some of the other things that I've gone over, I've given you kind of the resources for it in terms of the topic areas. I've had students who have had to do research depending upon their background. I've had other students who could just answer it on the top of their head because they've taken management courses before. So if you're a business student and you're transitioning into engineering management, you're in a better position because you have that business background. If you're an engineering student, you're mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, you're going into engineering management, though that's the group that's probably going to need to do a little bit more research. Don't cut and paste from the internet. Research means you read something and you formulate ideas from what you're reading, and you're using your own words when you're answering. Hard to plagiarize a case study, actually, because it's asking you for your opinion. Where is your opinion on the internet? Not normally there. Anyway, so let me go over what you need to do for the case study, because this is another item that you might be able to work on. You don't want to wait until the last day. You have 4 of these case studies and you have 3 assignments or so. These are worth the 10 points, so a little bit higher weight because they're a little bit longer. So you're going to answer, should be typed, not handwritten. So do it on a word processor. You don't have to use a typewriter. Number each one of your answers, but you don't have to number the questions. So you just go, if that last one I think had 3, so you go 1, 2, 3, and answer it. You can answer more for one than another, but you have to answer all of them. So answer all the questions, but you can put one of them with a sentence or 2 if you want. It doesn't have to be the same equal weight per question. And double space, use a 12-point font. You should not have any less than 2 pages in length. Can't be less than that, but it can be as lengthy as you want. You do not cut and paste. Do not copy, write it in your own words. Post your completed case study to the EMS entry for the class. You have a lot of academic freedom. You can take it off in any direction that you want as long as you're answering the questions and you're coming close. So you can kind of use your background. If you don't like one of the questions, don't spend too much time on it. Spend more time on one of the other questions. The average is about 3 pages. It's really hard to actually do it in 2 pages if you're actually going to do this. And if you do this, you'll actually get more experience from it. It'll be a little bit more educational than if you just blow it off, you know, just kind of say answer with whatever. And looking for your own words. You don't have to provide reference citations. You don't have to, unless you're using outside material. You don't have to cite any research or anything like that unless you're using it in the paper. And if you're using it in the paper, no more than 2 sentences copied. And if you do copy 2 sentences, put quotation marks around it. And then reference it, tell me where it was copied from. The best grades will be on people who write it themselves. Cut and paste it from Wikipedia, you're going to get a 0. So I have to say this because I have gotten Wikipedia cut and paste jobs before. So, and we will be looking at them, and it will go through turnitin.com, so don't plagiarize it. Questions on the first case study? Now that I've scared you with it. No? Then we're done for today. Now we are officially done. Now we can go. So I'll leave you with that. We're done.